Body cam footage and 911 audio of the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, has finally been released.
Sarah Williamson joins us from our New York City newsroom with more. Sarah.
Good afternoon to you both, Bob and Katrina. Well, this evidence released by the San Francisco Superior Court from the body cam shows the moment Paul Pelosi was attacked by a hammer right in front of law enforcement. I will warn you, though, that this video is quite hard to watch and viewers' discretion is advised.
How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope.
Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting any answer on call.
Bro,
Crossing the area that someone in here.
I got him, Michael.
Edward 14 Everton, backup code 3.
Code 3 back up at 26.
Now, moments later, the 911 video, the 911 audio was released where you can hear Paul Pelosi attempt to tell the operator he needed help whilst his attacker kept telling him to tell the operator that things were just fine. The call was long, so here are some of the excerpts of that call.
This is San Francisco Police. Do you need help?
Oh, well, there's a gentleman here just waiting for my wife to come back. Nancy Pelosi. Is the Capitol Police around?
220. No, this is San
They usually
Francisco.
protect my wife. They're usually here at the house protecting my wife.
No, this is San Francisco Police.
I've got a problem, but he thinks everything's good.
Okay. Call us back if you change your mind.
No. This gentleman just came into the house. And he wants to wait here for my wife to come home.
0, 2,
and so,
4 and 48.
Anyway, he told me to put the phone down.
Do you know who the person is?
No, I don't know who he is. He has this. He's telling me not to do anything.
And here you are looking at the CCTV footage, supposedly, of Paul DePape. Now, he initially puts down 2 bags and pulls out a hammer and a handful of zip ties before he prepares himself to aggressively break in to the Pelosi's home. You can see him right there scoping out the windows as he puts on a pair of gloves. Any moment now, you will see him get that hammer and strike those windows. And that is how he entered the house. There you go. That is apparently Paul DePape breaking in to the Pelosi's home. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and on that timestamp up there in the corner. And that is when Paul Pelosi initially apparently saw the first signs of DePape in this incident that happened back in October. Bob and Katrina.
Sarah, thanks so much. Joining us now to discuss is former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik, National Trial Attorney Donte Mills, and retired Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. Bernie, I want to start with you. There have been lots of conjectures about what happened in this situation. Now that you've seen the video, you've heard that 911 call, what are you taking away? What is your top line observation here?
Well, I think one of the top line observations is where was this video, months ago when this happened? They should have got this thing out public to let the general public know exactly what happened, because based on what I just saw, what the general public is going to see when they see this, none of this matches up to 90% of the stories that were out there early on. So I think they should have released this a long time ago.
Yeah, Donte, that 911 call is kind of disturbing because it seems as though he's trying to keep this intruder to chill while he's letting 911 know I've got a problem here without saying such.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what you can hear in his voice. Help me.
But the 911 operator didn't interpret it that way.
Yeah, and it sounds a little bizarre. Maybe she was confused because he asked about the Capitol Police, the ones that protect them, and maybe she thought he was talking about another subject that she just didn't understand. But clearly in his voice, you can hear him asking for help without doing it directly.
Yeah, that's a great point, Donte. Sheriff Clarke, continuing on that, and also, I listened to that 911 call. I wonder if he was trying to pretend that he was saying, "Hey, I'm trying to find out where my wife is," as opposed to allowing DePape to know that he was calling 911. So I think that was why maybe he was trying to sound very relaxed. I don't know. What are you taking away from, again, what we're reading between the lines there?
Well, what I take away is, to me, there's still a lot of confusion here. There was a lot of confusion from the beginning with the 911 call and the 911 operator there, when she said at one point, well, call us back if you change your mind. And then I've read stories and accounts that Pelosi didn't want to tip the operator off, that he was calling police. I'm not going to get into judging whether that was true or not, but there's still a lot of, to me anyway, there's a lot of confusion going on. And that wasn't answered by the release of the 911 call. Pelosi answers the door with what appeared to be a drink in his hand. Everything seemed calm. And then the guy's standing there holding a hammer, for heaven's sakes, which is odd in and of itself. And then, the law enforcement officers are looking at this and probably trying to deduce what the heck is going on here.
Yeah.
So they were confused as well. So to me, it was just a big ball of confusion.
Yeah, it was confused. Is there any way that confusion could have been more clear, Bernie? Is there anything that anyone could have done to make this better? Even though we're seeing right here, David DePape apparently using a hammer to get into the house. He appears to be an intruder, despite some of the narratives that early on that we had heard, these stories that this doesn't look to be the case. But what could have been done better here?
Well, I think the call itself, Pelosi was confusing in the call.
Yes, he was.
I think he should have been more clear. I think the cops would have known when they arrived what they were dealing with, or at least some sort of what they were dealing with. My other question is, and I think the sheriff would agree, where was the Capitol Police? I understand that Nancy Pelosi wasn't there, but they're still responsible for the security and safety of the residents, the security of the residents. I'm not sure where they were, but normally that house is under guard, and it's pretty surprising that he had to call San Francisco PD to ask where is the Capitol Police.
Yeah, well, lots to discuss on this, certainly, and I guess the drink in the hand is also a very odd situation.
Yeah, that was very
there.
strange.
So there are many questions, just like Sheriff, you were talking about. There are questions here, so they will continue to be asked. Meantime, we have another story. There are a number of cities now that are preparing for what may come next. Of course, we're expecting later this evening the possible bracing for protests and possible violence nationwide. We don't know. This ahead of the Memphis police planning to release body cam video later today of a traffic stop that led to the death of Tyre Nichols.
Reports say the video does not cast the police officers in a positive light. Now, that could lead to scenes potentially like what we saw in the summer of 2020 after the death of George Floyd. Correspondent Chris Jones is live on the ground in Memphis. Chris.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That body cam footage is due to be released in around about 5 hours' time now, and the family of Tyre Nichols, the 29-year-old man who was killed by these 5 police officers during that traffic stop, have viewed that footage, and they say that it's extremely distressing. In fact, they describe the situation as Mr. Nichols being beaten like a human pinata by the 5 officers who have now been charged with the killing of Tyre Nichols. Their charges could lead to many years in jail, from 15 years to 60 is the estimation. Now, we have had just a press conference that included the family's attorney, civil attorney Ben Crump, and the family as well. And in that, all parties were very emotional, as you can imagine. But they were talking about this footage and saying that if any mothers were watching that press conference, do not let their children watch it. It's that distressing. They really do have concerns with who is watching this. And also, we'll be bracing for just how the community here reacts to that video when it's released. We spoke to some people a few hours ago who were saying that there could be some pretty violent scenes along the streets of Memphis. But we will really have to wait to see, based on the reaction from the community when that video is released, just how protests transpire. Nevertheless, police are preparing for a worst-case scenario.
Chris Jones, thanks so much. Let's bring back Bernie Kerik, Donte Mills, and Sheriff David Clarke for their reactions. Donte, your reaction to this. We're hearing both the police chief of Memphis, but also President Biden calling for peaceful protests, in addition to Tyre's mother, who is specifically saying, please make them peaceful, don't burn down our cities. Your reaction to the protests and to what we might see tonight.
What I'm looking forward to is looking at the video and understanding why they believe it's going to generate this much reaction. I do know that the police chief said that the acts in this video defy humanity. She's likened it to the Rodney King beating. So the expectation is we're going to see someone who's not being treated like a person. And all they knew about this person is the color of his skin. They didn't do a background on him. They didn't know who he was. So the expectation is if people who look similar to him see him being treated like that for no other reason than what they knew, are they going to react?
Yeah. And Sheriff, let me ask you this. And I want to remind folks that the riots related to Rodney King happened after the police officers charged were acquitted. So it's not just when the video came out, it was when justice, those folks felt, was not being done. So in this case, we have 5 officers who've been fired. They've been charged with second-degree murder. If the system is supposed to work, these are the steps that are supposed to take place, right?
Yes, first I want to lay some foundation here. These officers maintain their presumption of innocence. They're entitled to due process. That has not happened yet. That being said, if what is being reported by the chief and others is true, I'm disgusted by it without even having to see the video. So, you know, you look at this, and the thing that I think about at a time like this is all the law enforcement officers who on a daily basis put on that uniform and go out and do things the right way, they now have to walk around with the stain of what's been done here by these 5, allegedly, by these 5 Memphis law enforcement officers. The damage they've done to this profession is profound.
Yeah.
And to that point, I want to extend, Bernie, we have not a lot of time left, but Ben Crump, one of the family's attorneys, said today during a press conference, it was the police culture in America that killed Tyre Nichols. Your reaction?
That's ridiculous. The police culture in America is exactly what Sheriff Clarke just said. Men and women go out on a daily basis, every day, all across this country. They wear that uniform. They wear it with honesty and integrity, and they do a job that 99% of the people in this country would never do because they don't have the courage. There are bad apples, and in this case, that may be the case. And if it is, let justice be served. But you cannot judge every cop in this country based on what's being alleged in this case.
All right. Bernie Kerik, thank you, sir. Donte Mills, Sheriff David Clarke. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us.